Erik Ten Hag's poor game management is pissing the life out of anyone who loves Man United, including Sir Jim Ratcliffe and obviously myself. That's why I'm going to do this show with my hood on. And well, it's not just because of Erik Ten Hag, honestly. It's not because I'm ashamed by how poor we are performing in games which we should be dominating. But look at my hair. I just realized I need a haircut. Honestly, it's been long overdue. So let me save you the burden of looking at my disorganized hair as I put myself together to get a haircut in the coming days. But let's talk Man United. Focus on what I'm saying. Listen, so there's a very painful stat that I saw. Well, I'm not used to this. Look at this. How painful a stat this. This is from Sky Sports. This is not my stat. This is from Sky Sports. And 90th minute winners conceded in the Premier League for Manchester United. Under Erik Ten Hag, 90th minute winners, meaning we've been beaten in the 90th minute 6 times under Erik Ten Hag. For 30 years between 1992 and 2022, we only lost in such a manner twice. Guys, isn't this a shaming? Am I wrong to be hiding my face as I talk about this topic? I've been singing it from last season. If you guys have, for those of you who have been loyal to the United of Sport, who've been here for a long time, ever since we started this journey, I've been saying it consistently. One of the biggest glaring weaknesses of Erik Ten Hag has always been his game management. So poor game manager. Forget about his people management. We can question that. Probably we needed a bit of ruthlessness that he brought to the club. We may not dwell so much on that. But his game management, when a match is going on, even his body language alone at the bench shows you just how clueless he can get at times, especially when they are running all over us like a body rush. I feel like he needs, I've said it before, I don't know whether there's anything like refresher courses for managers in football. I don't know whether they only need to learn with experience, but you see, experience is a bit funny in football because you won't get the time to experience a lot of beating for you to learn how to manage your team. You will be sacked before you can. So either Ineos, who have done so many amazing things around Erik Ten Hag, trying to support him to have the best and most successful 2 years he can have in the seat as per his current contract. I think they need to help him and give him a refresher course focusing on game management. And by game management, I mean squad selection, I mean decision making, I mean substitutions. That is what I mean by game management. What do I mean? Who should be starting and what should I base on to start a player? You cannot be, the game against Brighton just exposed him and how poor he is when it comes to team selection. I'll tell you honestly, we don't need to be there at the training ground to know what's going on. We just see the players available to him and what he has selected. That was so poor, biting expose of how weak he is in that regard. Two, decision making. By decision making, I mean what he did, deciding, for example, to bench Alejandro Garnacho for 2 games and start Marcus Rashford when clearly Rashford has for the longest time from last season showed you he's not there to play for you or for the badge anymore. What decision? How isn't that the easiest decision to make, really? Decision making, I mean choosing to apparently rest Joshua Zirkzee and Mathis de Ligt, 2 players who brought us solutions to solve the lack of a striker problem that United has suffered for a long time. And now, again, you're in that situation. Roy Hoyland is not there, the only natural striker, and the club is still, your team is still struggling like they were before you paid 30 million or 34 million pounds for Zirkzee. Decision making. How do you make that decision to bench him? De Ligt, you signed Mathis de Ligt, waited for him like we Christians wait for the return of Jesus. The boy came as a solution for Harry Maguire. But that's a joke, by the way. It's a figure of speech. I hate to blaspheme Jesus. I hope I didn't that did not come off like blasphemy. I hope not. It's just a figure of speech. But we all waited for Mathis de Ligt and Nusa Mazraoui. You bring them in, and you're benching Mathis de Ligt, still keeping Harry Maguire, who is inconsistent. Decision making. What kind of decisions are you making? 3, substitutions. Who does that? You're chasing a game away against Brighton and you're putting off the captain, first of all. It's unheard of. He's not injured. Two, you're putting off your best and most hardworking player, Bruno Fernandes. Your only chance to an assist to a goal. If we dig into the stats and see how many times Bruno, because of his efforts, United was saved in the last season, even the seasons before, I think the stats would be clear, would be all over the place that Bruno is the United savior in the dying minutes when things are going bad. You don't put him off. You don't put him off when you're chasing a game against Brighton. There is no tactical explanation. It just keeps reminding me of the so many poor decisions he made in games before, where he was pulling off Rasmus Højlund. When you felt it in your blood, the adrenaline all felt, everyone felt it in them, that soon Højlund is going to score a goal against, I think it was Arsenal, Brighton, I forget the opponent, last season. He pulls him off, and everyone, wherever we were watching the game from, in the stands and on TV, we all booed him at the same time, meaning he was the only one watching that game, but seeing something different. He cannot be the only genius like that. So whereas you're the manager and you're in charge of the club, sometimes you've got to keep it simple. So all of this for me, it's not that he's a bad manager. It's a thing of being refreshed. I think he needs to be refreshed and taken back to the basics of the game. Tell him that sometimes the best thing and most smartest thing to do, or the smartest thing to do sometimes, is the simplest and most obvious thing. You don't have to come off so creative all the time. I think it's feeling hot. You don't have to come off so creative all the time. You know what I mean? So for me, that's a big problem. And you see, in all this, you see that man in the corner right there? Sir Jim is watching. He's watching him patiently, saying, I've done everything. I've given you the players you've wanted. Manuel Ugarte is now coming in. There won't be excuses. You've got to give value for money. Already people are beginning to feel like Ruud van Nistelrooy will be the next manager of Man United. It's quite sad because for a manager we backed, and a manager who we know can manage good football, because we've seen it against Man City. There are games he has handled so well, and we're like, okay, that was genius from Erik. But it cannot be just about Man City. Somehow he manages to get the right approach against Man City. I think it's a personal thing between him and Pep. I don't know, or I don't know whether it's someone else who is the players maybe who are just psyched to beat Man City or to give it a hard time. But the basic games he should be handling basically and winning with so much ease are the games that make it look so ugly for him. So he's got to check himself. So for me, that's a whole. We might be excited about the coming days in the summer, Manuel Ugarte coming in, Sofiane Amrabat coming in, blah, 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 blah. But you know, the more players you have, the more quality you have, for a manager like Erik ten Hag, it will even get worse. He might be overwhelmed by the talent and his lack of decision making, his indecision. So we might be excited and it could hurt us. We could be hurt even more. We might think we are helping the manager by giving him all these players, but if we don't help him help himself, because his first problem is himself. The first problem Erik ten Hag has got is himself, with all due respect. It's himself. Overthinking football and being so adamant and full of himself is a problem. Sometimes you've got to swallow humble pie and accept to do the simple thing and be helped and be supported. Erik ten Hag, good as you are as a manager, you need to check yourself when it comes to game management, because we may not be football managers, but we watch football and we have brains and we've got some bit of understanding and knowledge about the game because we watch a lot of it. So you don't tell us we don't know what we are saying, because again, unless the results always will vindicate you, and if they don't, we will question the manager. So for me, it's the whole thing. I think the whole world in unison just saw the last game and just clearly agreed that this guy's game management is a huge problem. It's I don't know whether it's the size of the job. I don't know what it is. Whether he fears certain players, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's difficult to understand. That's why he needs to be refreshed. So Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Berada, you all know what to do now. You heard it. Just give the man a refresher course to help him have the best 2 years. We wish the best for him. The team is improving in terms of how we're playing, but you can improve and that's it. If you improve and you poorly manage, you look at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta just knows how to manage the game. Pep Guardiola knows how to manage a game of football. You cannot win a marathon. You cannot win the Premier League if you cannot manage the game. Because in the Premier League, the game keeps changing. It takes you in different directions all the time. You cannot be full of yourself. Stick to your guns. Last season, we were beaten so many games because we couldn't handle a single pivot, because we did not have a fit number six. He kept on saying the first season, even up to now, by the way, this season, okay, here with this thing, guys, just send you my bad hair. Here's the thing. He said even this season, they were asking him about his arrangement of the middle and his single pivot and how it exposes Man United. And he said, in the first season, we played with a single pivot and we considered the least goals in the league. So that's the thing. That's how, he's so full of himself. You need to adjust. The Premier League, you've got to adjust. Things change. Pep Guardiola does not play the same way he played in his first season. The best managers know well that in the Premier League, clubs or teams adjust so fast. They figure you out so fast, and if you don't adjust, they will beat you if you stick to your guns. That's an issue Arsene Wenger had until he started adjusting. Before, Arsene Wenger used to manage his teams and they will all be full of themselves, play their football, so long as it's perfect, they don't even watch the opponents. It's the players who told him, boss, no. Sometimes you've got to watch the opponent and adjust according to the opponent. Otherwise, it's a whole different battle on the field. That's the thing. Erik Ten Hag would want to play his single pivot even when it's not working. You don't have a fit Casemiro. Why are you still giving him the burden of playing, of shielding the back line alone? Support him by playing two blocking midfielders. Simple. But crazy Erik will not. That's for me all part of poor game management. So, however good a manager you are, if you can't manage a game, you cannot win the marathon called the Premier League. Can't happen, honestly. So with this Erik Ten Hag, if he sticks to his ways, it doesn't matter which players we bring in. I will stand here firmly without fear and be the prophet of doom, if you want to call me that. United will never win the Premier League if Erik Ten Hag continues with his arrogant, adamant, full of himself methods. He needs to adjust. I've said it. Cheers.